That's the actual sign from Neverland?
That is the actual sign from Neverland that was over the...
While the rest of the ranch attracted attention, one area of Neverland Ranch remained entirely unaltered for decades.
Like it's abandoned. It seems like it was a dream that has somehow faded.
Locked away from the outside world, a sealed garage remained inaccessible to nearly everyone. When it was eventually retrieved in 2024, many thought it contained faded memories and lost items. Rather, they discovered old cars sitting precisely where they had been abandoned.
Are these all Michael's cars?
These are some of them.
Some of them?
Some of them.
More cars.
More cars.
Personal writings and iconic clothing.
That famous jacket. There it is. Wow.
When I opened the door, I saw a private existence that had been kept completely silent. The seal of quiet. For 15 years, the Special Projects Garage's hefty door functioned as a time capsule. This vault remained a pristine and unaltered piece of 2009, reeking of petroleum and sandalwood, even after Neverland was deserted. The investigators discovered an eerily beautiful museum of an incomplete life when the shackles were eventually removed in 2024. The flashlights first spotted an opulent 1999 Rolls-Royce Silver Seraph, a throne-on-wheels vehicle completely covered in red velvet upholstery and 24-karat gold. A lifelike mannequin of Jackson wearing the smooth criminal costume was in the passenger seat. Beyond the gold, however, the treasures grew more personal. Taped to the walls were handwritten schematics of Jackson's plans for the city of future, which included interconnected hospitals and orphanages that he intended to construct in the final months of his life. The blueprints were the architectural aspirations of someone who genuinely thought he could fix the world, not the ranting of an obsessed recluse. A heartbreaking history of unmet hopes was hidden behind the steel. Check out this bizarre finding that was allegedly made in Michael Jackson's garage before we go any further. There is a story that there was a secret that nobody was aware of. Only ashes and a few cars were discovered within the garage, but it's still unknown where the ashes originated. What do you suppose took place? Tell us in the comments. The record of unheard echoes. The Vault of Echoes, a temperature-controlled chamber not seen on any official blueprint, was located behind the facade. This is where the physical manifestation of the enigmatic shock was discovered. Master tapes are kept in military-style cases in boxes upon boxes. These weren't just hit songs, they were also spoken word poems and experimental operas that exposed a mind that had successfully escaped the paparazzi's scrutiny. However, the workbench in the middle of the room revealed the most startling thing. A handwritten record book of covert altruism was present. For every embarrassing report about him, it described millions of dollars spent on underfunded schools and the treatment of terminally ill individuals, as well as years of covert donations he made under several aliases. It was evident by the time night fell on Santa Barbara that the garage held no dark secrets. Instead, it was safeguarding the testimony of a man who had built a sanctuary, not to atone for his transgressions, but to preserve his dreams. This was an eternal promise kept secure inside the citadel, not a place of burial, the design of isolation. If one were to equate a person's personal life to the roots of a large tree, their professional life would be the branches, leaves, blossoms, and fruits that are visible. Success, notoriety, and recognition are typically the only things that people consider when making judgments. However, the true basis of this seeming beauty is concealed in unseen roots under the surface. Similar to how a person's personal life molds their emotions, mindset, sense of security, and identity, these roots take in sustenance. An individual's inner structure is shaped by how they handle loneliness, pressure, and anxiety while they are alone. Their work style, choices, and inventiveness are subsequently influenced by this basis. A tree can withstand storms if its roots are robust and deep. In a same vein, having a steady and self-assured personal life enables one to endure criticism, setbacks, and rivalry while maintaining consistency. On the other hand, the problem is internal if the roots are weak or injured. Instability can result from even minor storms. Michael Jackson had an enormous, brilliant, and extravagant career. However, his private life was regulated, secluded, and safeguarded. These roots, where he attempted to protect his inner self, are represented by places like the Neverland Garage. Perfection, control, and escape. He was frequently characterized as a true perfectionist by those who knew him well. He found serenity in life's little routines and nuances, much like an artist who devotes attention to each delicate line on a canvas. To him, those small guidelines provided him with stability and direction, much like a lighthouse in the middle of the ocean. His creativity was a precise kind of architecture, as well as an outburst of imagination. Every brick had a deeper feeling of purpose and design, as if an architect were constructing a magnificent palace. Every car in his immediate vicinity and every personal thing he had were like individual trees in a well-kept garden, carefully selected by him, tended to with care, and shielded from the rain and storms of the outer world. Furthermore, his own garage was more than just a space. It resembled a remote island where he could find inner peace and escape the cacophony of the big ocean of people. The unseen self. Away from the restless cacophony of the ocean of fame, like a mountain that can never be set down and can only be carried repeatedly without respite. Like a weary bird traveling through stormy skies, he might return to himself in that secret location, at last finding temporary refuge in the peace of a tranquil woodland. The items stored there were more than just belongings. They resembled dry leaves that had been meticulously preserved in between book pages. Each one is an attempt to cling to one's own existence, a piece of identity, and a remnant of memory. One reality emerges from this intimate world. This man was not only a star, he was a human being who refused to lose himself. Every object appeared to express this in a quiet way. Every brightest star has its own dark sky, and sometimes people look for serenity rather than brightness in that darkness. Hidden truths that remain silent. Something that ought to have remained hidden was exposed by the opening. Beyond only resisting, the door did more. Every square inch of its body was packed with defiance. Heavy bolts that withstood every blow from sophisticated tools were said to be made of an alloy of titanium steel. Professionals with expertise in breaking into high-security systems and vaults came to a stop. Metal strained under pressure, sparks exploded and faded, yet nothing yielded. It seems that the barrier was constructed to protect something far more valuable than anything else. The mechanism eventually gave way after unrelenting strain. There was an odd weight to the change, more caution than triumph. It opened slowly, revealing more than just blackness. Something that had been properly locked off from the outside world for years, unspoiled by time, was still present in that secret area. Jackson's dreamscape, frozen. It seemed as though time had decided not to enter, leaving everything inside unaltered. Time seemed to stand still within. Rows of immaculate cars were revealed by flashlight beams, lying beneath a light layer of dust as if in silent expectancy. Michael Jackson's vision was represented in luxury models, bespoke construction, and creative ideas. Every element conveyed a feeling of creativity and escapism, from intricately painted finishes to embroidered interiors. "Drive your dreams," a fading inscription along one wall, summed up the atmosphere in the room. This was no typical garage, rather it was a secret haven, unaffected by the outside world, where passion and creativity persisted long after quiet descended and the outside world vanished. Silence and chrome. A long-forgotten silence was broken when light gradually returned to a long-abandoned garage. Feeling the weight of years in the air, the crew cautiously made their way inside. The darkness was pushed back as dim lights flared awake and hidden systems started to hum. A 1985 Rolls-Royce Corniche emerged from the shadows. Under the chilly light, its delicate turquoise paint glowed. It appeared as though time had stopped around the spotless, smooth and undamaged surface. The white leather seats inside were immaculate, free of wear and dust. Careful preservation, or possibly total stillness, was evident in every detail. There was more significance to this vehicle. During the height of the Thriller era, when celebrity had completely taken over, it was Michael Jackson's first taste of luxury. It was more than just a buy. It signified a change to a more subdued, regulated life, where order took the place of turmoil. It represented achievement, seclusion, and a world free from continual scrutiny. The garage itself seemed to be immobile, unaffected by the outside world. The tools were in their original locations, and there was a calm, almost pristine silence in the air. The car was a mute observer of a significant historical event, the secret reality. A silent discovery uncovered a secret legacy buried in chrome and metal. The team discovered a 1954 Cadillac Fleetwood with a sturdy, formal shape farther inside. This was more than simply an old car. It was formerly associated with presidents and other notable individuals. Its commanding physique conveyed a yearning for respect and a long-lasting reputation. A rare and highly prized Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud lay in quiet behind it. Since just a few number were ever produced, it is a testament to thoughtful selection and sophisticated taste. A deep quest for perfection was evident in its smooth ride and intricate design. Every car in this area symbolized a distinct phase of an individual's private life. Collectively, they created a silent chronicle of transformation, aspiration, and loneliness. The turquoise Rolls-Royce Corniche was the most noticeable of them all and easily attracted attention. Driven by a 6. With a 75 LV8 engine, it could achieve remarkable speeds. However, speed was never its goal. It was renowned for its steady, serene driving. It was frequently described as a tranquil hideaway by those in close proximity. It conveyed a quiet narrative of control, introspection, and escape from public life in addition to movement. Please click like and subscribe if you've read this far. It is very beneficial to the channel. Let's go on to the next. His private haven. Inside the automobile, silence descended like a world isolated from the outer world. It was designed for peace and retreat, not for speed or thrills. From the plush leather seats to the plush carpets and polished wood panels, every element exuded luxury. This area turned into a private haven where the sounds of the outside world gradually subsided. There was a little hint to its history on the dashboard. The player had a faded cassette tape with the title, "Off the Wall," still on it, slightly pushed out. A very moving song full of emotion and introspection was stopped in the middle. The car became more than just a means of transportation thanks to that little touch. It turned into a space for reflection and remembering. The car was registered just before a significant world tour started, according to records. Employees remembered calm nights when he sat by himself inside and listened to music on headphones during a period of growing international notoriety. The strain of public life felt far away at those times. This vehicle signaled the start of a personal retreat based on control rather than celebrity. Identity moved away from performance within its contained area. It was a unique opportunity to stop, think, and just be without expectations. A silent, armored haven. The garage initially appeared to be a collection of rare luxury cars, but as time went on, it became evident that these cars were concealing something far more sinister. These were no longer just pricey cars. Every vehicle represented a distinct aspect of Michael Jackson's complex public persona. A flawlessly restored 1985 Mercedes-Benz 500 SEL was among the most memorable cars. The car's graceful shape seemed to have been frozen in time, and the doors were still sealed with yellow tape, indicating how long it had been left unaltered. Known for its extremely quiet ride and bulletproof glass installed from the factory, this Mercedes was much more than just a high-end sedan. The car turned into a personal haven from chaos and criticism during the most trying years of Michael's legal issues and constant media attention. It discreetly supported him during times when he sorely needed both emotional fortitude and privacy. The car served as a cocoon, protecting him from the animosity of the public while enabling him to navigate a world that continuously sought access to his private life and all of his vulnerable moments. The Mercedes represented the load carried by one of the greatest celebrities in history, projecting secrecy and survival even as it stood immobile inside the dimly lit garage, whispering the luxury of royalty. However, not every car in the garage was designed to protect Michael Jackson from the outside world. Some were skillfully designed to influence how the world perceived him. Beneath the dim glow of the garage lights was a Silver Spur 2 touring limousine. Its glossy surface holds recollections of significant charitable events and public appearances. In contrast to ostentatious celebrity cars made only to attract attention, this limousine stood for understated elegance and luxury. Comfort and understated sophistication were evident in every aspect of the cabin. A delicate fiber optic star ceiling provided a soothing heavenly light throughout the house, while a movable moon roof allowed the outside world to enter whenever wanted. The car was seamlessly equipped with hidden speakers to create a secluded space for quiet music or private discussions. The vehicle flawlessly reflected the persona Michael Jackson cultivated over the course of his years of charitable endeavors and deft public relations. Its beauty did not shout extravagance or wealth. Rather, it implied accountability, kindness, and sophistication concealed beneath celebrity. Someone discreetly verified that these cars were, in fact, a part of Michael's personal fleet while guests proceeded through the collection. Deeper within the garage, more vehicles awaited, each containing a different aspect of his meticulously guarded public narrative. The hidden fortress of Phantom. However, as the collection progressed, the cars showed a more sinister metamorphosis, in which protection gradually gave way to total seclusion. The Phantom 6, which is thought to be the rarest car kept in the garage, was without a doubt the most enigmatic car in the collection. It has a handcrafted cream leather upholstery that was painted matte black for optimal comfort and privacy. This Phantom lacked rear windows in contrast to standard premium vehicles. Rather, the back compartment was transformed into a private moving sanctuary with high-definition interior screens. The car was never meant to be admired by the general public. It was there to protect its occupants from ongoing scrutiny and outside interference. More than just a means of transportation, the Phantom represented Michael Jackson's gradual retreat from public life, portraying a celebrity who yearned for seclusion, privacy, quiet, and total control over his private life. Hidden artifact from the garage. One car stood out among the handcrafted luxury cars and limousines. A 1993 Ford Econoline E150 van, unremarkable at first appearance, was concealed in a dark area of the garage. There were no eye-catching markings, polished chrome, or ostentatious paint jobs on its beige appearance. The van looked oddly out of place and completely utilitarian in contrast to the surrounding icons of power and riches. However, the moment the sliding door opened, the illusion vanished. The contrast inside was startling. The walls were upholstered in deep blue velvet, which subtly softened the sound and light. The chairs were built to order from leather, had plenty of cushioning, and were meant to recline comfortably on lengthy journeys. A television display was thoughtfully fitted in each passenger seat to provide a feeling of seclusion and entertainment. A built-in Super Nintendo Entertainment System was positioned in the middle of the space, discreetly wired and firmly installed next to clearly labeled sections containing original game cartridges. A mirrored ceiling panel above reflected the cabin, giving it an oddly roomy feel that was reminiscent of a recording studio or creative retreat. The van felt more like a private haven designed for comfort and creativity than a straightforward transportation vehicle. Wheels of creativity. A battered notebook full of intensely intimate ideas and incomplete masterpieces lay within a side pocket, almost hidden from view. Rough sketches, handwritten ideas, intricate stage conceptions, and comprehensive tour plans that were never implemented were all found within its pages. There were soft drafts of a children's book that Michael Jackson had begun but never finished in between the drawings. These subdued discoveries provided a unique window into a mind that was always in motion, constantly envisioning new narratives, performances, and creative possibilities outside of dance and music. The van itself evolved beyond a means of transportation. It stood for a transient haven where creativity may flourish free from public expectations, fame, and pressure. Every element therein demonstrated a desire for seclusion, creativity, and emotional comfort when moving between locations. The finding was noteworthy not just because of the unusual appearance of such a common car among expensive cars, but also because of the profoundly personal tale it contained. The van, which has been discreetly preserved for decades, exposed Michael Jackson as vulnerable, creative, and boundless. He used this unique hideaway as a space where ideas could develop freely without hindrance or criticism from the outside world. The man behind the mythology was silently reflected in it. The invisible patterns. Investigators discovered something considerably more precious than vintage cars hidden away in Michael Jackson's own garage. Several black containers bearing the gold MJJ Productions insignia were concealed under a worn-out motorcycle. These were time capsules, not merely storage. The plans for a future that never materialized were found within by archivists. Plans for History 2. The Resurrection Tour, which was intended to be much larger than his record-breaking 90s run, were shown in detailed blueprints. The concepts included multi-tiered stages, automated elevators, and immersive lighting systems that were intended to create a shared illusion throughout entire stadiums. Jackson was envisioning participatory audience experiences that were beyond the capabilities of the technology available at the time, as evidenced by handwritten notes in the margins. These crates contained the unadulterated proof of an uncompromising imagination, but no controversy. Even in the quiet of his own house, they showed a man who never stopped creating. A private blueprint of a genius still at work, creating steel and light sanctuaries for a world not quite ready for them. Surfaced from the dust along with a collection of antiquated documents. A quiet find. Unexpectedly significant information concerning Michael Jackson's garage's hidden items surfaced. Instead of making headlines around the world, collectors, curators, and historians paid close attention to it because they understood its deeper significance. This was no typical storage area. Rather, it was a painstakingly maintained haven, a tangible time capsule containing remnants of a private world seldom seen. Examining the collection made it clear that these were more than just opulent items. They marked turning points in a decades-long artistic journey. Every piece represented a guy who was always reinventing himself, pushing the limits of dance, music, and performance while influencing world culture. A turquoise 1985 Rolls-Royce Corniche, still shining after years of silence, stood in the middle. It encapsulated the spirit of the Thriller era when pop culture changed and records were broken. It was more than just a car. It represented the pinnacle of an unmatched legacy, inventiveness, and reinvention. Stories are told by machines. The collection unveiled intensely intimate moments beneath its outward elegance. Michael Jackson would spend hours by himself in his Rolls-Royce Corniche, listening to cassette recordings of his own music, according to a longtime staffer. The car evolved beyond luxury during those calm times. It served as a haven, a break from unrelenting celebrity, and a space for creativity to flourish. Other cars further inside the garage provided a more comprehensive view. A Silver Cloud Rolls-Royce and a 1954 Cadillac Fleetwood demonstrated an increasing admiration for classic style. These timeless pieces reflected Jackson's development from young vigor to a more contemplative, sophisticated persona during the bad and dangerous eras. A new chapter in his life appeared to be whispered by each car. Together, they created a story of harmony between spectacle and isolation, creativity and introspection, portraying an artist who is always changing while looking for stability in a world that never stops observing. The story continued even after the garage doors were shut. We discovered the remnants of a guy who never gave up on his dreams behind the golden chrome. These were the plans of a restless intellect, not just automobiles and containers. Michael Jackson's last haven demonstrates that the artist was busy creating realms we are only now learning about while the world watched the performer.